ओम श्री परमात्मने नमः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता साधका संजीवनी, फोर्थ चैप्टर, ट्रांसडेंटल नॉलेज। इंट्रोडक्शन। There are two important factors pertaining to the discipline of action. One, performance of actions, and two, special knowledge about actions. The Lord lays special emphasis on the performance of duty, especially in the third chapter, while in the fourth chapter, He imparts knowledge about actions. He declares, I shall teach thee such action, that is, the nature of action and inaction, after knowing which thou shalt be liberated from evil, that is, the wheel of birth and death. This karma yoga, in spite of being beginningless, was lost to the world through long lapse of time because of the absence of scholarly teachers, sages, who could impart it. Verses 1 to 15. Tradition of the discipline of action and divine character of births and actions of God. The Lord in the first three verses describing how Karma Yoga was handed down from ancient times proves how it existed from times immemorial. Verse 1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktvan Aham Avayam Vivaswan Manve Praha Manur Ikshvakve Abravait. The Blessed Lord said, I taught this imperishable yoga to Vivaswan, the sun god. He told it to Manu, and Manu proclaimed it to Ikshvaku. Comment. Karma Yoga is the main course of action for the householders. Out of celibacy, household life, the retired order, and the renounced order, the four stages, orders of life. Household life is the most important because it is the householder that provides for the other stages of life. A householder, by performing his duty, can easily realize God. He need not change the stage, that is, order of life. Lord Krishna, mentioning the names of the kings such as the sun god, Manu, and Ikshvaku, wants to say that at the beginning of creation, they, as householders, having slain desires, realized God. Lord Krishna and Arjuna were also householders. Therefore, Lord Krishna through Arjuna teaches all the householders that they can realize God as householders without leading a secluded life as an ascetic by performing their duty. Performance of actions will lead him to salvation in the same way as renunciation leads an ascetic to salvation. Karma Yoga consists in the utilization of the available circumstances. So, Karma Yoga, that is discipline of action, can be followed by the people of every caste, creed, country, and order of life. The Lord has mentioned the names of the noble and influential kings of the past so that people may draw inspiration from them in order to perform their duty. Question. Why did the Lord teach this yoga to the sun god at the beginning of creation? Answer. The Lord taught it to him because he knew that he was a deserving candidate. The teaching is imparted to the firstborn as Brahma. The Creator created men and imparted teaching to them in order to inspire them to perform their duty. In the universe also, the sun god was the firstborn, and then the entire universe was born of the sun god. The Lord taught this yoga first of all to the sun god. He meant to get it imparted through the sun god to all his progeny by way of transmission in succession. The sun is the eye of the entire creation. He imparts knowledge to all the people, and when he rises, they wake up and are engaged in their work. He sets an example to them for the performance of their duty. He has been called the soul of the entire world. Therefore, the teaching imparted to the Sun God will also be imparted to all beings. Therefore, Lord Krishna first of all taught this imperishable yoga to the Sun God. Verse 2. Evam parampara praptam emam rajresho viduha sakale neha mahata yogo nashtaha parantapa. This handed down thus in regular succession the royal sages knew, but through long lapse of time this yoga was lost to the world. O oppressor of the foe. Comment. The Lord declares that it was through long lapse of time that it disappeared, because at the beginning of the creation the Lord taught it to the Sun God. Then it was handed down in regular succession and the royal sages knew it. But due to the absence of the great spiritual souls possessed of the knowledge of this yoga, it could not be handed down. So at present, only a few people know and talk about it. Though this principle was not practiced, yet it did not cease to be, because without actions, even other disciplines such as knowledge and devotion cannot be constantly practiced. A Jnana yogi, through discrimination by regarding the actions as asat, unreal, renounces his affinity for them, while a bhakti yogi renounces affinity for them by surrendering them to God. No affinity, howsoever, is to be maintained. This is the principle of karma yoga. Therefore, a jnana yogi and a bhakti yogi will have to adopt this principle of karma yoga even though they may not practice it. It means that at present, though it has been lost, yet as a principle it exists. Verse 3. Sa evayam mayate adya yogaha proktaha puratanaha bhakto asi me sakha cheti rasyam hiya ittad uttamam. This same ancient yoga has been today declared to thee by me, for thou art my devotee and my friend, and this is the supreme secret. Comment. Arjuna regarded Lord Krishna as his companion, but now he has become his pupil. That is, before now he was a comrade devotee, while now he has become disciple devotee. An order can be given or a sermon can be preached only to a disciple rather than to a friend. The Lord preached his sermon only when Arjuna surrendered to him, that is, took refuge in him. The secret, which is not disclosed even to the comrade, is revealed to a disciple who surrenders himself to his preceptor. Arjuna also says to Lord Krishna, I am thy disciple. Teach me, who have taken refuge in thee. Therefore, the Lord reveals his secret to him. It was because of Arjuna's reverence for Lord Krishna that he, instead of choosing the well equipped army, chose unarmed Lord Krishna alone as his chariot driver. The Lord declared that he had taught the imperishable yoga to the sun god, etc., and he was teaching the same yoga to him, Arjuna. Having heard his words, Arjuna had the curiosity to know how Lord Krishna, who was sitting before him, had taught this yoga to the sun god at the beginning of creation. In order to get this point cleared, Arjuna puts the question in the next verse. Verse 4. Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha katham etad vijanyam tvam adao proktavan iti. Arjuna said, later was thy birth and earlier was the birth of Vivaswan, the sun god. How then am I to understand that thou didst declare it to him in the beginning? Comment. This question of Arjuna expresses his curiosity rather than argument or blame. He wants to hear from Lord Krishna the secret of his divine descent because only he is capable of revealing this secret to him. In response to Arjuna's question, the Lord reveals his omniscience in order to manifest his divine descent. Verse 5. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me vetitani Janmani tava cha Arjuna तानेहं वेद सर्वाणि न त्वं वेत्थ परन्तपा. The blessed Lord said, many births of mine have passed as well as of thine. O Arjuna, I know them all, but thou knowest not, O scorcher of foes. Comment. A man does not possess the intuitional knowledge to know the previous births as he is attached to the perishable objects and persons, etc. The world, actions, and objects are kaleidoscopic and unreal, so it naturally suffers shortage, while a man, the self, has no shortage at all. But when he assumes his affinity for the world, he feels shortage in him and wants to make up that shortage by having desires. In order to satisfy those desires, he remains absorbed in different activities day and night, like an unconscious man. Not to speak of the knowledge of several births, he does not even know his duty for the present, that is, what he should do and what he is doing. The Lord's statement, I know them all, should thrill the strivers with delight because the Lord knows them and has an eye on them, whatsoever they are. Now, in the next verse, the Lord explains the secret of his descent, that is, incarnation. Verse 6. Ajo san avayatma bhutanamishro san prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavamyatma maya. Though I am unborn of imperishable nature, the Lord of all beings, yet governing my nature, Prakriti, I manifest myself through my Yogamaya, divine potency. Comment. In this verse, there is description of 6 things. God is birthless, imperishable, and the Lord of all beings. These 3 things pertaining to God, Prakriti, nature, and Yogamaya, the divine potency. These 2 pertaining to his power. And the 6th one is his manifestation. The Lord manifests himself by keeping his nature, Prakriti, under control and stages the drama of human life. As fire itself does nothing but its lighting power provides light and its burning power burns things, so does the Lord do nothing, but it is his divine power which does everything. In the scriptures, Sita declares, it is I, not Lord Rama, who killed Ravana and other demons. Like man and his power, God and his power are neither different from each other, nor are one. God can't separate his power from him, so it is not different from him. A man remains the same, but his power changes, so it is not identical with him. Therefore, the philosophers have called it neither different nor one. In the next verse, the Lord reveals the occasion of his manifestation. Verse 7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Whenever there is a decline of righteousness and rise of unrighteousness, O Arjuna, then I manifest myself. Comment. When the righteous, innocent, weak, pious, and spiritual people are exploited by the unrighteous, cruel, strong, wicked, and mundane people, and when moral values are lost and immorality prevails, that state is the state of a decline of righteousness and rise of unrighteousness. The terms yada yada, whenever, show that God manifests himself whenever there is need for his manifestation. Example, when the sea was churned, God in the form of unconquered Lord Vishnu churned the sea as divine tortoise, upheld the Mandrachala mountain, pressed it hard as the being with 1,000 arms, and as the bewitching woman distributed the nectar among the gods. Thus, God manifested himself in different forms at a time. There is a decline of righteousness from the Satya age to Treta age, Dwapara age and Kali age respectively. In the Satya age, righteousness flourishes. In Treta age, the decline begins. In Dwapara age, there is a rapid decline, and in Kali age, unrighteousness prevails. Then God manifests himself for the establishment of righteousness. Therefore, God manifests himself in order to root out this desire and propagate the principle of the performance of actions without expectation of any reward. Here a doubt may arise, why at present in the wretched Kali age God does not manifest himself when there is a decline of righteousness and rise of unrighteousness. The clarification is that the time is yet not ripe. During the Treta age, the demons, having killed sages, piled up their bones. But at present, the righteous persons are leading a pious and peaceful life, and nobody kills them. Secondly, when there is decline of righteousness and rise of unrighteousness, by God's order, saints come to the earth and true strivers are revealed, and both of them establish righteousness. Sometimes the liberated souls who have realized God also come to the earth to help the people to attain salvation as the representative of God. Where there are such strivers and saints, there is neither so much decline of righteousness nor so much rise of unrighteousness as is at other places where there are neither strivers nor saints. When people don't follow the teachings of strivers and saints but start to kill them, and when there are left only a few righteous persons to propagate righteousness, and there is a decline of righteousness, then God manifests himself. The Lord now reveals the aim of his manifestation in the next verse. Verse 8. Paritranaya sadhunam विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. For the protection of the good, for the destruction of the wicked, and for the establishment of righteousness, I am born from age to age. Comment. God manifests himself in order to protect the good because they destroy unrighteousness and propagate righteousness. He whose only aim is God realization is a good person, while he who hankers after the worldly pleasures and prosperity is not a good person. Here a doubt may arise, why such people are seen suffering when God protects them. The clarification is that the Lord protects their good feelings rather than their bodies, riches, honor, and fame, etc. The reason is that those good people don't attach importance to the mundane objects because by doing so they become bad. The Lord also does not attach importance to them. Those who, because of so many desires, remain absorbed in vices such as falsehood, fraud, deception, and dishonesty, etc. Those who exploit the virtuous and good persons, those who remain engaged in doing evil to others, those who don't know what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, those who always condemn God and the scriptures. Such persons of demoniac nature have been called wicked. The Lord manifests himself for the destruction of such wicked men. Question. The Lord declares that he is the same to all beings and there is none hateful to him. Then why does he destroy the wicked? Answer. As the Lord is the disinterested friend of all beings, no one is hateful to him, but he who is an enemy to his devotees is his enemy. So, the wicked who offend his devotees are destroyed by him. Devotees destroy sins, while God destroys sinners. The Lord is not opposed to the wicked, but he is opposed to their wicked actions, because those actions are injurious to the world as well as to them. Therefore, he destroys the wicked in order to do good to the world as well as to those wicked persons. How generous he is that, having killed those wicked persons, he sends them to his own abode. Now, a question may arise whether the Lord Himself will have to come to kill us if we go on committing sins. If it is so, we shall attain salvation easily. Otherwise, we shall have to control our senses, mind, etc., and inculcate virtues and practice spiritual discipline. The answer is that the Lord destroys only those wicked who can't be destroyed by anyone else. Secondly, performance of good actions will lead us to virtues, which will pave the way to salvation. But if we are killed by anyone else or die a natural death while performing sinful actions, what will be the consequences? How will our desire of being killed by the Lord be fulfilled? Therefore, sinful actions should not be performed at all. The Lord is the abode of righteousness. So, He manifests Himself in order to establish righteousness well. In fact, righteousness never perishes, it only declines. Whenever there is the decline of righteousness, the Lord re establishes it. The Lord comes to the mortal world in different incarnations according to the need of the hour. He remains perfect during all the incarnations. Now, the Lord, of His own accord, explains the merit of knowing the divine character of His birth as well as actions in order to explain the performance of actions without expectation of fruit. Karma Yoga. Verse 9. जन्मा कर्म च मे दिव्यम् एवं यो वेति तत्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति सो अर्जुना. He who thus knows in their true nature my divine birth and action, having abandoned the body, is not born again. He comes to me, O Arjuna. Comment. The Lord is beyond birth and death. He is birthless and imperishable. His manifestation in the human body is not like the birth of common men. He manifests himself of his own accord in order to stage the drama of human life for the welfare of beings. The Lord in the next verse describes the traits of those devotees who know the divine nature of his birth and action. Verse 10. वीतराग भय क्रोधा मन्मया माम उपश्रितः बहवो ज्ञान तपसा भूता मद भावम आक्तः. Freed from attachment, fear and anger, absorbed in me, taking refuge in me, purified by the penance of knowledge, many have attained to my being. Comment. When a man knows the truth about the divine nature of the Lord's birth and actions, he becomes dear to him. So, he takes refuge in him and gets absorbed in him. Those who have attraction for mundane pleasures get absorbed in the desires for pleasures, while those who have attraction for God ever remain absorbed in Him. They lose their individuality because of their exclusive devotion to Him and identify themselves with Him. The devotees attain Him. Now the question arises how they attain Him. The Lord answers the question in the next verse. Verse 11. ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तांस्तथैव भजाम्यहम् मम वर्तामनुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः. O Partha, as devotees approach me, so do I accept them, for all men follow my path in every way. Comment. Howsoever devotees seek him, so does he meet them and grant them their heart's desires. He reveals himself before a devotee in the same form in which he thinks of him. If a devotee thinks of him as his preceptor, he becomes an excellent preceptor. Similarly, he becomes a worthy father or mother or son or brother or friend or even an obedient servant according to the desire of the devotee. If a devotee feels restless without God, God also becomes restless without his devotee. Arjuna regarded Lord Krishna as his friend and wanted to make him his chariot driver. Therefore, he became his chariot driver. Sage Vishwamitra treated him as a disciple, so he became his disciple. Therefore, with whatever sentiment devotees seek him, he reciprocates the same sentiment. The Lord of infinite worlds reciprocates the sentiments of his own created common beings. How generous, affectionate, and merciful he is! The Lord ever remains prepared to reciprocate the sentiment of his devotee. King Dashratha treats him as his son, so he becomes an obedient son and can't disobey his father. The Lord wants to reveal the secret that a devotee should accept the same relationship with him which he has with the member who is most loving to him, whether he is his son or father or whether she is his mother. By doing so, the Lord will become most loving to him and thus he will be able to attain him easily. Secondly, the Lord wants to urge the people that by following his footsteps, they should also become worthy sons or parents or brothers or husbands or wives or sisters, etc. Moreover, they should render service to other members of the family without expecting any reward from them and without being proud of their actions. Those who have affinity with parents and other relatives only for rendering selfless service to them follow the Lord's path in the real sense. By doing so, for the good of others, they will be free from the feeling of mine. They will develop devotion to God and will attain Him. In the preceding verse, the Lord declared, as men approach me, so do I accept them. It means that it is very easy to realize God. Then why do people not worship God? The Lord answers the question in the next verse. Verse 12. Kangshantaha karmanam seddhim yajanta iha devtaha kashipram hi manushe loke seddhir bhavati karmaja. Those who desire the fruition of their actions worship the gods because success is quickly attained by men through action. Comment. A man is eligible to perform new actions. He firmly holds that God is also realized through actions, that is, penance, meditation, and trance, etc., as worldly objects are acquired through actions. He does not pay attention to the fact that the worldly things are acquired through actions as they are limited. They are not ever attained. They are separate from us and they are kaleidoscopic, while the Lord can't be acquired through actions as He is not a product of actions. He pervades everywhere. He is ever attained. He is not separate from us, the self, and He is unchanging. So, He can be attained as soon as a keen desire to realize Him is aroused. The keen desire for God realization is not aroused because of the desire for worldly pleasures and prosperity. The Lord is like the Father, while the gods are like shopkeepers. We can take a thing from a shopkeeper only by paying the money, but we can take it from the Father free of cost. Similarly, we have to perform rituals according to the scriptural methods for gods in order to obtain fruits from them, while God bestows upon us our necessities free of cost. Moreover, as the shopkeepers give even harmful things such as a matchbox or a knife, etc., to a boy on payment, but if the boy wants injurious things from his father, he will not only refuse but take the money also. The father gives only beneficial things to the boy. The gods also bestow upon their devotees harmful gifts without thinking of their welfare at the due completion of a ritual. But the Lord, like the Father, bestows only those gifts which are for the welfare of the devotees. Question. Action is said to be the means to attain yoga. Then, how is it that a man cannot attain yoga through action? Answer. In Karma Yoga, actions are performed in order to renounce affinity for actions and the material for actions. Yoga, union with God, is natural. So, yoga or God realization can't be attained through actions. In fact, actions are unreal, but when they are performed for the sake of the Supreme, they are called Sat, namely real. In the next two verses, the Lord specially explains how they gain their divine character, that is, purity. Verses 13 and 14. चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टं गुणकर्म विभागशः तस्य कर्तारम् अपि मां विद्य कर्तारम् अव्ययम् न मां कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्मफले स्पृहा एति मां योऽभिजानाति कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते. The fourfold caste order was created by me according to the modes of nature and action. Though I am the creator, know me, the immortal Lord, to be a non-doer. Since I have no craving for the fruit of actions, actions do not taint me. He who knows me thus in reality is not bound by actions. Comment. The Lord created the four castes order Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra according to the modes of nature and actions of the previous birth. Besides human beings, the Lord created the gods, manes and other forms of life also according to the modes of their nature and action without showing the least partiality. The fourfold caste order does not apply only to human beings but also to birds, beasts and trees, etc. Among birds, pigeons are regarded as Brahmana. Hawks, kites and crows are regarded respectively as Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. In this verse, Chaturvaranyam stands for only human beings because they can understand this distinction and can perform their duty accordingly. The Lord's actions are ever divine. The actions of saints and sages also become divine. Not only saints and sages but also men can make their actions divine by doing away with desire, attachment and the sense of mind, which are impurities in actions. When actions are purged of impurities, they become divine and they don't bind them. They lead them as well as to others who follow them to salvation. An easy means to make actions divine is to use the objects etc. acquired from the world in rendering service to the world without regarding them as one's own and for one's own self. We should have no desire to acquire anything from the world or even to gain any favor from God. We should rather surrender ourselves to Him. The Lord Himself has provided all the necessities of life to us because He is very gracious and merciful and He knows our necessity more than we know because we are dull-witted while He is very sharp-witted. So, without desiring anything, we should use the things that we possess for the welfare of others without any selfish motive. By doing so, our affinity for actions and objects, etc., is renounced, and God, who is an embodiment of bliss, is realized. Citing the examples of the ancient seekers of liberation in the next verse, the Lord orders Arjuna to perform his duty. Verse 15. एवं ज्ञात्वा कृतं कर्म पूर्वैरपि मुमुक्षुभिः कुरु कर्मैव तस्मात् त्वां पूर्वैः पूर्वतरं कृतं. Having known this, The ancient seekers of liberation also performed action. Therefore, do thou also perform action as the ancients did in former times. Comment. It is mentioned in the scriptures that when desire for liberation is aroused in a striver, he should abandon actions because in that case he becomes eligible to attain knowledge, wisdom, rather than to perform actions. But here the Lord urges Arjuna, the seeker of liberation, to perform his duty in a disinterested manner by citing the example of other ancient seekers of liberation. Karma Yoga, discipline of action, consists in remaining established in yoga, that is, union with God, while performing duty, and in performing duty while remaining established in yoga. Actions are performed for the world, while yoga, union with God, is for one's own self. Performance of actions and non-performance of actions are the two states. A yogi transcends the two without being attached to either of the two. This yoga is detachment incarnate. This is not a state. This is God realization. Om Tat Sat. All glories to Sri Parthasarthi Lord Sri Krishna. All glories to Bhagavad Vani Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Sri Hari Arpanamastu.